what's up? My name's Samuel Leeds. I am a property investor, and in this video, I'm going to be answering your property investment questions. The thing is, I've been investing in property now for 12 years. I've done over 300 property deals. I did my first property deal 12 years ago. It was a HMO, and I've experienced so many challenges and problems in property. So that's why I like to take a moment every single week on a Sunday at 7 p.m. to answer all your challenging questions, your problems, and help you so that you can also become a successful property investor or entrepreneur. So if you like my property channel, please do me a massive favor and smash the like button. That really helps me out. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Turn the notification bell on, and I'm only able to do this if you actually ask me questions. So in the comment box below, ask me any question you like about property investment, and I'll do my best to answer next week. However, right now, I've got a whole bunch of questions to go through from last week, and this might help you out a lot. So if you enjoy the video, smash the like button. Let's see what we've got. SM says, "Hi Samuel, thank you for all the Q&A Sundays. You're so welcome. My question is, when buying a HMO property in an Article 4 area, what evidence do I need to make sure I can continue renting it out as a HMO? The estate agent has said the property is an authorized HMO, but so far has not shown me any documents confirming this. Thanks." Okay, SM, the answer is you're going to need to see the tenancy agreements from the tenants to the landlord in the HMO property. And when you buy the house, if it's already in an Article 4 area, but it's being used as a HMO, you want to see that it was used as a HMO prior to Article 4 coming in. So you can find out when Article 4 came into that area by Googling it, and it should be on the council website, and you're going to want to see an AST, Assured Short Hold Tenancy, from the tenants renting rooms before the date of Article 4 coming in. If they can prove that and show those AST contracts, then there will be planning permission granted on the property, meaning it is safe to buy. I hope that helps. Thanks for your great question. What else do we have? Thomas Kelly. "Samuel, I've just bought a house for £45,000 in Northern Ireland. Going to put maybe £5,000 into a refurb. Once that's done, can I get a new mortgage on the property to put equity out?" Thomas, yes, you probably can. There's a couple factors that you're going to need to bear in mind. Number one is, if you spend £5,000 on the property, how much have you actually pushed the value up by? If it's worth 45 grand and you spend 5 grand on it, but you've only pushed the value up by 5 grand, it might not be worth getting a new mortgage, because you're only going to get 75% of the equity, and it's only £5,000 worth of equity, which is about 3 grand, and the early penalty charges are probably going to be more than that. And are there early penalty charges? And how much is the property going to be pushed up? I mean, if you bought it for 45 and you're spending 5 grand on it strategically, and it's going to push it up to £65,000, then sure, refinance it. Normally you have to own a property 6 months before refinancing. There are some lenders that will let you do it sooner, but it's very limited, and because you've got limited lenders, you're going to end up probably paying higher interest rates. So I hope that helps, and good luck on your continued property journey. All right, what else? HT. Under what circumstances will the bank give you a mortgage as an 18-year-old for a buy-to-let property? HT, they will probably not do it. My understanding is you have to be 21. Now, you might be thinking, but hang on a minute, Samuel, you're 29. You said you've been investing in property for 12 years, so how's that work out? And the answer is, rather than me begging the banks to give me a buy-to-let mortgage, that wasn't going to happen when I was a teenager. They were saying 21, 21, 21, 21. So instead, I started begging my family members to be a mortgage host or a guarantor on my early property investment. So there's always a way around it. There's always a solution. It's sometimes about asking the right questions rather than necessarily having all the right answers. Good luck, 18-year-old boy. You're going to kick some ass. Daniel Oliver, with a HMO property, do you need to have wash basins in every bedroom as part of licensing? The answer is no. You do not need a wash basin in every bedroom as part of licensing. Nope, you don't. Manchester YouTube, "Hi Samuel, another question please. If I have £10,000, is there any way that's enough to start with a bridging finance?" If you've got 10 grand and you're trying to use that to buy a property and the rest get on bridging, I'm going to be really honest, you're going to struggle. And the reason is because most bridging companies, they're going to want to put in about 65%, which means you're going to need to put in about 45%. 45% as a deposit, 10 grand isn't going to cut it. Even if the house is like 40 grand, it's not going to be enough. So I don't think it is going to be enough to go and buy a house with bridging finance. That's the bad news. The good news is that bridging companies don't care where your deposit comes from within reason. So if you've only got 10 grand, but you found a really good deal and you want to get bridging on it, use your 10 grand, but maybe borrow another 10 grand from a friend, a joint investor partner, an angel investor, a bank loan. They don't care. The bridging company cares more about the property than where you're putting the deposit from, and then you can then refinance it once you've done the work. So I hope that helps. And as I've said many times, I'm not a mortgage advisor, so I would also get mortgage advice on this. But that will be the strategy that I'll be looking to do. You've got to raise some finance. 10K won't get you very far in property if you haven't got the ability to raise finance. So hope that helps. All right, Sam HB. Hi Samuel, great videos. I'm 19 and I'm starting my journey on learning about investing in property. I hear you mention that you can pull out all your money out of deals when you refinance a house. It is possible, but not always. It depends on the house. However, this still leaves you in debt. So is there a point banks won't let you take out any more mortgages because you already have a lot of debt? And surely it's not good to get too much debt, even if it means you have many properties. Thanks. Okay, so no, generally speaking, it doesn't matter how much debt you've got. Look, Donald Trump is probably the highest debt worth person on the planet. People that have a high net worth usually also have a high debt worth. Debt is just the way that businesses operate. So the question that banks are going to want to know is, what security do they have and how are you going to be paying the interest on that debt? Debt is just a tool. Now, if you're borrowing bad debt, yeah, for sure, there's going to be a point when lenders are going to be like, oh, hold on a minute. You're already up to your eyeballs in debt. I don't know how you're going to pay this back. But if you're borrowing money and you're strategically investing it, then that's just called business. So, I mean, sure, if you're buying residential houses, you can only usually own 2 residential mortgages because you're living in there. So they're thinking, well, hold on a minute. You can't keep buying all these houses because they're residential houses for you to live in. How are you going to pay all these mortgages? But if you're buying a property as an investment and you're renting it out, lenders will just see that as safe and secure. So, I mean, there are some lenders, small-time lenders, that might say, oh, we only let you have 5 or 10 houses. But generally speaking, as long as you're a smart investor, you're not going to struggle to get debt. In fact, the more debt you have, as long as you can show and demonstrate that you're using it smart, the better. So you've got to get your head around the difference between good debt and bad debt. I always say bad debt is really bad, but good debt is really good. So it will serve you and it will help leverage your business and bring more cash flow and more net worth and more value into your business and into your life. Hope that helps. All right, Marnie Ali. Can I use a bounce back loan as a deposit on a house, and do you think this is a good idea? Yeah, listen, if you can, I think it's a great idea. If you can, as long as it doesn't, when you get any kind of loan, so a bounce back loan is a loan and a mortgage is a loan. So there's always going to be restrictions to that loan. Bounce back loans, there's not that many restrictions to bounce back loans. There's not too many rules around bounce back loans. Mortgages, that they are a little bit more restrictive because when you get a mortgage, they're going to ask you things like, where's the deposit coming from? They're going to ask you what purpose the property is going to be used for. So if you're getting a mortgage, you might not be able to use a bounce back loan as a deposit. If you're getting a bridging finance and you're buying a BRR deal, then you most likely would be able to. So yeah, I think debt, if you're taking a bounce back loan or any kind of loan and you're using it as good debt and it's serving you well, I think it's a good idea. I think it's smart. So as long as you're not breaking any rules or lying when you take on that debt about what you're going to do with it, hope that helps. Tyrone Saxton. Hey, good to have you here again. I have a question I need help with, Samuel. I have a 4-bedroom HMO. One tenant has 2 children between the age of 8 and 14. They stay over around twice a week, as it has come to my recent attention. The tenant, with when he has his 2 children stay over, makes the others in the HMO feel overcrowded in the communal spaces, such as the living room. What is the best way to handle this? In future, I will not get tenants who have children ever again. Okay, Tyrone, so there's 2 things going on here. There's house rules and then there's tenancy rules. So when you actually have someone that's interested in moving into your property, you will have a tenancy agreement, like an AST contract, for instance. And in the AST contract, you can put in there what the tenancy is. So you can say things like, this room, you can only have one person sleeping in this room, and you can have basic tenancy rules. Also, on top of that, if there's anything that's a little bit see, an AST contract, like generally speaking, people can stay over twice a week because that's not classed as living there. I think it's if it's 3 times or more when it's classed as living there. But you can just have house rules. So in the HMO, you can just say, look, these are the rules. You're allowed guests to come over, but only one guest at a time, and for only one night at a time. Not lots of So you can just have some house rules, and then when you're showing tenants around, prospective tenants, just tell them what the house rules are. And if they've got lots of kids they want to be bringing over 3 times a week, then they're going to see the house rules, they're going to see the AST contract, and they're going to think, that's not really ideal, and then they won't move in. And if they do move in, you can then say, hang on, it says this on the house rules, which you agreed to and you were told when you move in. With HMOs, it is really important just in general to have house rules, because without rules, people just make up their own thing and then arguments come. So yeah, it sounds like you're in a bit of a tricky situation. I would personally be trying to get rid of that tenant. I'd be, but not in a nasty way. You don't even have to evict them. I'd be just saying, look, you know what? I don't really think you're cut out for a HMO. So how about this? I'll give you your deposit back. I'll give you, and just make it sweet for them. But I'd be wanting to get rid of them, because otherwise the other tenants in your HMO might move out, and then suddenly you've got this one tenant, and then they're going to start taking over the whole house, but just paying one room's rent. So I'd be wanting to get rid of them as fast as possible and replace them with someone who's a bit more suitable. Good luck. Keep us posted. Burning Desire. Hi Samuel, prices seem to be inflated right now. Do you think this is temporary? Should we wait it out and start buying in a year's time when the economy is downhill? Also, I feel areas which are mostly rented, these house prices could even rise, as investors will always keep up the demand. It's areas where residents buy their own house which will be affected when job losses happen. I think that's a question at the end. Look, house prices right now, we're in a mini boom. So house prices are really going crazy and people are queuing up and they're outbidding each other and gazumping each other. Do I think that's temporary? Yes, I do. I think that there's going to be a dip real soon. In the next few months, we'll see that. And I think the dip's going to happen when furlough stops, when business owners stop paying their staff and start firing more people because furlough stops, when there's a lot of things at the moment. And I said this was going to happen. I predicted this about 4 or 5 months ago. I said that the government are going to manufacture a bit of a boom, and they're going to desperately try and push the economy up, and that's what's happening right now. There's going to be a dip, but then ultimately I think house prices are going to continue rising strong again. So it just depends on what your strategy is. Should you buy right now? You could buy right now if the return on investment's good, but just make sure you don't get wrapped up in any bidding wars and you don't overpay for a house. Hope that helps. Adam Barnes, what is a good rate for buy-to-let limited company mortgages at this present time? If it's 3-point-something%, that's pretty decent. Ollie Wilson. Hi Samuel, I really want to start investing in property, but I'm scared that I will invest and then need the money that is tied up in property for whatever reason. How easy is it to sell the property if you have a tenant in there? Thanks. Ollie Wilson, look, property, I guess it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, is not very liquid. And what I mean by not very liquid is, like, money in the bank is a terrible investment and your cash is going to be shrinking, and I wouldn't suggest having lots and lots of money in the bank, but it's very liquid. In other words, if you need it, you can get it real quick. Gold is very liquid because you can take gold and you can go to a pawn shop and you can just give it to them and get money, poof, fast. Property is not very liquid. Property, if you've got property and you want to sell it, it takes a long time to get the money. And if you're in a rush to get the money, you're going to end up probably dropping the price and selling it below market value, which is a bit of a pain to have to do that. Now, the reason that's not a good thing, it's a curse, is because it's annoying if you suddenly need money. But the reason it's a blessing is because it locks your money away. Money in the bank gets bored, and bored money disappears. If you lock it into property, then you can't touch it. So you're not going to be able to spend it. So having illiquid assets has got its perks. If you're potentially going to need the money in 3 months' time, I wouldn't suggest putting all that money into a property. So, yeah, how easy to sell a property? It's not that easy. It's going to take time. It could take 3 months at best. It could take 6 months. It could take a year. So that is one of the I guess the downsides to property, but also one of the upsides. Often what happens is people put all their money in property and then suddenly there's a recession or they're a bit skint and they're like, oh no, and they need the money, but they can't get it. But actually that's a good thing, because if the money was in the bank, they'd just spend it and they'd have nothing. So it's kind of good to be locked away. Another good thing about having property is you're going to be able to just get the cash flow. So you lock the money up, but then you use the rent and you just spend the rent. So, Ollie, if I was you, I wouldn't be thinking about putting the money in property and then how soon can I quickly sell the house and get it back? Property is a long-term game. You should be putting the money in the property and then the rent that's coming in, using that as your liquid cash. So, anyway, I hope that helps. Dabo Gaming. Hi, Samuel. I've recently inherited £150,000, but currently don't have a job. Would it still be possible for me to get a buy-to-let mortgage? Thank you for your time. Yeah, quite possibly. So, again, most buy-to-let lenders, they don't mind about your income. They care more about the investment because they know that you're going to be able to pay them back, because if the property is a good buy-to-let property, they're more concerned about, is this property going to rent out nicely? If you haven't got a job, I'd speak to a mortgage broker and see what you can do. Maybe I've known people that have become self-employed and their salary is like $5,000 a year and they can go and get buy-to-let mortgages. So speak to a broker, see what they say. Adam Aldridge. Dear Samuel, I'm just starting out with property investment. Good for you. I have £25,000 for a down payment and I'm thinking of purchasing a house or a flat costing about 80 grand to rent out. My question is about mortgages. Should I go for a longer duration plan of say 20 years, getting more take home from the rent money? Yes, you should do that. But paying more interest. You're not paying more interest. I guess unless you're going to pay it off real quick and then you're not going to pay much interest, but then that would be not good. Or should I get a short-term mortgage of say 5 to 10 years, paying less interest overall, but with less rent money left over or even payments to make up? Look, Adam, you don't want to pay the mortgage off, in my opinion. You want to get a mortgage for as long as possible, fix the interest rates for as long as possible, as low as possible, then get cash flow, get as much cash flow. Cash flow is king. As much cash flow as possible, then save up that cash flow and then buy another house. And then now you've got 2 lots of cash flow. And the goal is to get as much monthly cash flow as you can from your property business, giving you passive income so you are now financially free. That's the goal. Hope that helps. Bick. Hi there. Though the kitchen was damaged during my occupancy, my landlord has refused to fix it. Hence, I only pay £700 instead of £900. And 2 weeks late on the basis the property is not worth a rental of £900. Where do I stand of getting evicted as per my situation? Not paying landlord in full and on time as per AST contract. Thanks in advance. So, Beck, that's not really good in my opinion. Because, okay, you say that it's not worth £900, so you're only paying £700. But when you sign the contract, your AST contract, you agreed that you would pay £900. So if you don't think it's worth £900, then you shouldn't have agreed to pay it. Now, you might argue that no, because now the kitchen's damaged and the landlord's refusing to fix it, therefore this property's not worth £900. But what I would say is that's a separate issue. So in your AST contract, your agreement was to pay £900 to the landlord. I imagine the landlord's agreement was to make sure the property's in good repair. So if the property's not in good repair and he's not doing his job, you've got a contract. You need to say, hey, you signed this agreement. You can't just go, oh, well, if you're not going to stick to your agreement, then I won't stick to my agreement. And like, it's a separate issue. So, I'll be like, in business, I just don't think you can just say, oh, you're not sticking to your agreement, therefore I won't stick to mine. You need to say, you're not sticking to your agreement and we have a contract. So, and then you need to enforce that they do. However, that's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments as well. And Bick, I'm interested in your feedback on this. Where do I stand in getting evicted? So right now, yes, the landlord might hand your notice in. He might hand you notice, but he cannot take you to court and evict you right now. However, if you're not paying your full rent, if you're just paying $700 instead of $900 and you're paying late, even though he can't evict you right now because of the pandemic, in time he will be able to evict you because the pandemic will be hopefully over. And then you're going to have to pay back all the rent that you didn't pay. And even though that might be a long time before he actually takes you to court, you're now going to have a big bill. And if you say, well, I'm not paying it, screw you, then it's going to make you end up probably with a county court judgment. You're going to be blacklisted. And then when you come to rent a property again, they're going to see you won't have a reference, you're not going to have good credit, and you're going to really struggle to move into another property because landlords are going to go, oh, you were that guy that just only paid £700, not £900, and didn't pay and got taken to court. So you might right now be okay and not have to pay, and you probably can't do that much about it, but long term it's going to get you back, and I think it's going to, so my advice would be to say, look, there's a pandemic going on. The kitchen needs fixing. I'm being a really good tenant. I'm paying you full 900 quid. Look, the least you can do is fix this kitchen because it's really not cool. And speak to the letting agent, speak to the landlord, and that would be my advice. So, hope that helps. Sorry if that's not what you wanted to hear, but of course, ultimately it's your decision. All right, Manchester YouTube. I bought a residential mortgage about 7 months ago. Due to circumstances, I would like to change it to a buy-to-let mortgage or sell the house. How would be the best way to go about it? Sell the house is fine. You can sell the house. It's a good time to sell a house in Manchester right now. Manchester's booming. We're in a mini boom. Houses are selling great. I've got some friends that have just sold some houses in Manchester, sold really well above asking price. If you want to switch it from residential mortgage to buy-to-let mortgage, you can either get consent to let, so you can ring up your lender and say, look, I've had a change of circumstances. Can you please give me a letter and give me a year or 2 years and just give me consent to let? That'd probably be the best thing to do. And then in time, you can actually decide if you want to officially refinance or sell the house. But I would just ask for a letter for consent to rent the property out for the next 6, 12, 18 months. Angelo! I'm 12. I'm 12 years old. My goodness. Okay. I'm very interested in property and property development. Good. I am still at school. I'll be doing my GCSEs in a few years and then A-levels afterwards. What do you suggest I do now as a 12-year-old so that I'm ready to buy my first property when I'm 16 to 18? Also, I would like to study medicine, but also want to have time to continue my property development and eventually work from home and support my family from property development. Thanks very much, Angelo. Angelo, you are an amazing person. You want to buy your first house, 16 to 18 years old, awesome. My suggestion would be, number one, would be you want to study medicine and you want to go into that industry. Amazing. It's really important that you do get good grades. If that's what you want to do, you want to become a doctor or whatever. So work hard at school. I would start, maybe get a part-time job and learn about work, maybe get a paper round, start washing cars. That's what I did when I was 12. And start just saving money. And it might not seem like a great amount. You might think, oh my gosh, buying a house, I need all this money. But it's amazing how much, even if you just put like £5 or £10 aside a week, it's amazing what can happen over the next few years and what that can equate to. And then when you are 16, you can start investing it and compounding it. So my advice would be just to continue studying, continue learning as well, continue watching YouTube videos like this about property and real estate. And yeah, just to I just wish you all the best. So hope that helps, and I believe that you're going to absolutely kill it. Matt Rooney, how do I legally borrow money from family for a buy-to-let deposit? Okay, so if you're going to be borrowing money from family legally for a buy-to-let deposit, most lenders will want it to be a gift rather than borrowing money where you're paying interest. If it's not a gift, and obviously you don't want to lie, I would suggest borrowing money, then getting a bridging loan, buying a house, and then refinancing on a later date onto a normal buy-to-let mortgage. And hopefully push the value up before you do that and pull your money out. Dog Chow. Samuel, if I were to buy a Lamborghini, £200,000 as a present to myself, would I be better to do a monthly repayment scheme for it or to buy it outright and put it under the business and put the business name, etc. on the car to be able to lose the large amount of VAT on top, or is this not a thing? Thanks. So Dog Chow, firstly what I'll say is Lamborghinis, I don't know loads about Lamborghinis, but I would definitely suggest if you've got 200 grand and you don't own any assets and you're not financially independent, using that to buy a Lamborghini just because you like Lamborghinis is probably not smart. Because, I mean, listen, when I became financially free, I was driving around a Dacia Sandero. I think it was a Dacia Sandero. They're like the cheapest cars ever. I did buy it brand new. I think I leased it. I became a millionaire. I was driving around a Range Rover Evoque, which is like the cheapest Range Rover. It took me a long time before I actually bought an expensive car, which is a Range Rover. Should you do monthly repayment schemes for it? Probably yes, because if you put the whole 200 grand in it, boom, that's like a lot of money just tied up into probably a liability. And tax deductible wise, like my Range Rover is not very tax deductible. If you buy a Tesla, it's very tax efficient. You can claim it as a business expense. Lamborghini, probably not. Unless, hold on, we'll get to that in a second. But the reason I would probably not buy it outright is because if you use 200 grand and you just buy the whole car, boom, it's like, what's it going to do? How much is that going to make you? If you stagger it out over payments over a few years, you can maybe put down 20, 30 grand as a deposit, and then the rest, put it into real estate, and then with the rent that you're making, use that to put down as the future down payments. The only thing I will say about Lamborghini, I don't know in terms of the VAT stuff, I'm not too sure, probably speak to a tax accountant, but with a Lamborghini, if you buy it and then you lease it out, so you're actually charging people to hire it out, that's probably, I know people that do that. That's a smart thing to do because then not only is it giving you money, but then maybe, again, speak to an accountant, but then it maybe is a business expense. So speak to an accountant. Definitely believe in delayed gratification when it comes to things like cars. And I also definitely believe in not tying up loads of money into something that's going to be a liability unless you can make it an asset. But I probably would be preferred to go down the monthly repayment routes. Hope that helps. Good luck in your Lamborghini driving and your real estate business. Thanks. Okay. Lastly, Joyanta Racksmith. Why is your course so expensive? £12,000? Isn't it better to just save that for a mortgage? Because there's two things going on here. Isn't it better to save that for a mortgage? I assume you don't mean that because you don't want to save it. You can't buy a mortgage. I assume what you mean is, isn't it better to save that and then get a mortgage loan and then use all that money to buy a house rather than investing in a course? Firstly, I don't have any courses that are £12,000. My most advanced package, the full bundle, if you do all of my courses together, lease option bootcamp, rent to rent accelerator, buy refurbish refinance masterclass, joint ventures raising finance, lease option bootcamp. If you do like literally all of my courses, plus sign up for 12 months of coaching and mentoring, and yeah, maybe that would come down to about £12,000. But why is it so expensive? Is that expensive? I don't know. I mean, firstly, it's not expensive if you compare it to universities, if you compare it to other property training companies. If you think it's expensive, then maybe just do one course. Don't do the whole everything, or buy my book, or keep watching me on YouTube, or take out a £95 course. But anyway, to answer your question about isn't it better to save that up for a mortgage, which I assume you didn't mean that, again, it's down to you. I mean, personally, if you've got 12 grand saved, that's not going to get you very far in property. Because even if you then get a mortgage, you're going to need the 12 grand to put down as a deposit. And a deposit's 25%. So that means the house is going to need to be worth 12, 24, 48 grand. To get a 48 grand house, firstly, you're probably going to struggle to get a mortgage on it anyway. And secondly, it's going to be a very small, cheap house. And that's 12 grand just for the deposit. It doesn't cover your stamp duty. It doesn't cover your solicitor costs. It doesn't cover you having to pay the mortgage broker a fee. So you actually, by the time you take off stamp duty and stuff, you've probably only got 8 grand for an actual deposit. So even if you could stretch and save up a little bit more, say 15, 20 grand, you're going to buy a house that's going to be very, very small and you're going to rent it for what, like 350 quid a month? Then you're going to have to pay your mortgage payments, you're going to have to pay management fees, you're going to have to pay maintenance and repairs. You're going to be left with maybe £150 a month. And my opinion would be, and listen, I'm not saying you should spend 12 grand on training, but if you've got two people, one person had 12 grand, the other had 12 grand, person A used that 12 grand to go on all of the different training and to get mentoring, the best mentors and coaching, and used it for that and then had no money. And then the other person used their 12 grand to buy a really crappy little house that gave them £150 a month profit. I think this person, as long as they implemented and took action, knowing about how to raise finance, about joint ventures, about rent to rents, about co-deal sourcing, about this person would probably go a lot further, a lot faster than this person. So But listen, no one's ever holding a gun to anyone's head telling them what to do with their money. So that's the decision that you need to make up for yourself. Should you buy a house or should you do training? My suggestion would be do both. There's an unlimited amount of money. There's an unlimited amount of potential on this planet. Get knowledge, take massive action, believe in yourself, persist and be positive. That'll be my general advice. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do smash the like button if you haven't already. Also, please let me know your property investment questions in the comment box below. I'll do my best to answer next week. And subscribe. Don't forget to turn the notification bell on, okay? If you're not subscribed with the bell on, that means that I might do a video, I might answer your questions. I might even do a crazy video solely about you and your questions, and you won't even know because you're not subscribed. So subscribe, turn the bell on, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much.